Hello everyone! We finished up the story of Vol'jin, and I'm currently keeping myself busy with covering the Legion Alpha, as well as playing some Overwatch when I have the time. We got some great questions sent in on the last Q&A, but before we dive into those, I first want to answer a question that I get all the time, which is, I want to get into the lore of Warcraft, what would you recommend me to do? My first recommendation, and I know this is going to come as a shock and a surprise, would be to check out my channel and my playlist with all the lore videos that I've done. Besides the shameless self-promotion, I do have a very big catalog about the lore in Warcraft, and I've made it in such a way that it's the best chronological way as I could place it in the playlist. Some stories overlaps certain time periods, so it's not perfect, but it will get you started. You can of course also search for a specific subject, say you want the story of Sylvanas, or the story of Varian, or the story of Dr. Boom. Just type it into the search engine and you'll be right on your way. The goal of the channel is to one day cover each and every bit of lore that Warcraft has to offer, but I'm not quite there yet. Wowpedia is a great source of information, and this is how I personally got started in the lore back in the day before obtaining the novels. Just search for subjects like the Ashbringer. Oh, there's an article of Alexandros Mograine. This will lead into Kel'Thuzad, the Cult of the Damned, the Lich King, Ner'zhul, Kil'jaeden, and before you know it, you have like 80 tabs open with pretty much all the information that you could ask for. Next to Wowpedia, I'd say that Wowhead is a great website to go to, since the comment section sometimes offers a great insight into people's theories and speculation, and overall it's just a very informative website. Now say that you want to know the stories themselves, because not even Wowpedia has every little detail, then I'd recommend picking up the novels themselves. I buy them from bol.com, which is a Dutch-Belgium online store, but I'm sure that something like Amazon or eBay or maybe your local bookstore could definitely help you out. If all else fails, you could always check if they've converted the novels into ebooks and buy a digital version. Blizzard has released a fair few of them over the years, not just novels, but there are also the comics and short stories, so in the description I'll link to a forum post which contains pretty much everything that they've released over the years. I usually recommend 3 different novels to find a point to start reading. Most people ask like, where do I start? There are so many of them. My first recommendation would be War of the Ancients, which is actually a trilogy containing 3 different books into one, all connect to each other, telling the tale of the War of the Ancients. This is one of the earliest stories you can find in the history of Warcraft, and although it takes a little while to get the story going, once you're into it, it becomes pretty epic, at least in my opinion. It also connects nicely to the upcoming expansion Legion. My second recommendation is the novel Rise of the Horde, which leads into The Last Guardian, Tides of Darkness, Beyond the Dark Portal, and then you can finish it all off with Lord of the Clans, which is my personal favorite novel to date. These books tell the tale of the first and second Horde invasion, the formation of the Alliance of Lordaeron, and at the time when I read these novels, I wasn't familiar with the Horde lore at all. This story gave me more insight to their history and Thrall's connection to the humans. It's a much easier book to get into compared to War of the Ancients, and it connects nicely to the upcoming Warcraft movie. My final recommendation would be War Crimes, since this is the latest novel that's come out, and it wraps up the events of Mr. Pandaria, leading into Warlords of Draenor. Alternatively, you could also go for Stormrage if you want to prepare yourself for Legion, and it's very possible that my recommendation for War Crimes will be replaced with the upcoming Illidan novel, since that one will be connected to the Legion expansion. So for those that want to become more familiar with the lore themselves, this is how I'd recommend doing it. Of course, there's more that you can do, there's always more. You could play Warcraft free, you could read the short stories, you could visit MMO Champion or the official WoW website, you could play World of Warcraft, all that good stuff, but this should send you on your way. Now I wanted to do that question first since it's one of the most asked questions. Now to your questions. First up, Marius Eugen. I probably mispronounced it, my apologies. Hey Noble, can you please tell me more about the history of the trolls? I just watched your video about Vol'jin and the Dark Troll tribe hit me like a train. I didn't know about them, and now I want to know more because, well, my favorite race in WoW is Troll, and I just want to know, and who better to ask to explain than you, Almighty Lore Master, smiley face, and thank you. Now I thought I'd take your question and expand on it to dive a little bit into the evolution of the playable races, since every time I mention that Night Elves come from Dark Trolls, people's minds are blown, like literally chunks flying across the room. Now there are so many races in WoW that I could literally possibly dedicate a full video to cover all the different evolutions, so for now I'll stick to the playable races. For a lot of them I'll say that their origin is unknown. It could mean that they weren't created by an outside source and that they simply popped up out of existence. Keep that in mind when I say that the origin is unknown. Starting off with the Trolls. The origin of the Trolls is unknown, but the earliest known tribe is called the Zandalari. From this tribe, those that wanted to conquer the world, they separated themselves, to which two distinct troll empires emerged. You have the Amani forest trolls and the Gurubashi jungle trolls. These two troll empires would branch off into smaller tribes, and besides the jungle and the forest troll, we've also seen ice trolls, sand trolls, and dark trolls. Dark trolls, most likely influenced by the powers from the Well of Eternity, they evolved into the Night Elves. Night Elves were originally dark trolls, most likely evolved with the influence of the Well of Eternity, a great fountain of power. Magic was a big part of their society until the Highborn, the upper class amongst the Night Elves, started to dabble with powers beyond their understanding. They got in touch with Sargeras, tried to summon the Legion into Azeroth, but some amongst them did not agree with those plans. A resistance was formed, the Legion's invasion was prevented, and the world of Kalimdor split apart with the Maelstrom in the middle. Magic became forbidden in the Night Elf society for the fear of causing another war, but some amongst them could not give up their magic. They decided to move away from the fellow Night Elves and eventually evolved into High Elves, built the city of Quel'Thalas, and created their own mini Well of Eternity called the Sunwell. Blood Elves come from High Elves after the bloody war against Arthas and the Scourge. In honor of those who had fallen trying to defend their city, they renamed themselves and they eventually obtained green eyes from using fell magic to feed their magical addiction. Their mini Well of Eternity, the Sunwell, was destroyed because it was corrupted after using it to resurrect Kel'Thuzad. Now after the events of the Burning Crusade, the Sunwell was restored and they can now use it as a fountain of power again. This means that the Blood Elves over the years should eventually lose their green eyes because they're no longer aligned of fell magic, but this will take a very long time and we'll probably never see the Blood Elves with blue eyes in game. The Draenei origin is unknown, but what we do know is that they come from the planet of Argus and they used to call themselves Eredar. That is, until Sargeras showed up and offered them a spot within his Burning Legion. Our commander Kil'jaeden willingly accepted this offer, while Velen and some of his people did not, and with the help of the Naaru, they escaped their planet and they now called themselves Draenei. Eventually, they made the way to the planet of Draenor, taking with them their fight against the Legion. The origin of the orcs is unknown. We know that they come from the planet of Draenor and that they eventually became corrupted by the Burning Legion as they followed the Draenei who were on the run from the Legion. Orcs were originally brown, but by drinking demon blood or by being nearby those who use fell magic, their skin turned green, very similar to the Blood Elves. Their eyes turned green. In the case of the orcs, it was their skin. The origin of the Pandaren is unknown, but some speculate a connection between the Pandaren and the Furbolg. Perhaps the waters from the Veil of Eternal Blossoms helped them evolve, similar to what we've seen with the Murlocs, who evolved into the Jinyu. Dwarves were originally Earthen, created by the Titans to help them with the mission of shaping their land and bringing order to the planet. They were hit by the curse of flesh placed upon them by the Old Gods, which literally turned their bodies into flesh. Gnomes come from the Mechagnomes, who were created by the Titan Keeper Mimiron, who in turn was created by the Titans. Like the Earthen, the Mechagnomes were hit by the curse of flesh placed upon them by the Old Gods, which caused them to gain flesh and turn them into gnomes. The origin of the goblins is unknown. In the past, they were slaves to the jungle trolls of Kazan, who forced them to mine Kashamite. This special ore gave them great intelligence, and the goblins overthrew the trolls. Since the origin is unknown, speculation is all that we have. Some speculate that a troll and a dwarf came together, some suggest a pygmy evolution, but I personally love this theory posted by Jacko on the forums. It says, goblins are creations alright, but not of the Titans. I believe that the goblins are the creations of the Old Gods. He then makes the connection between Kashamite and Serenite, Serenite being the blood of the Old God Yogg-Saron, and Kashamite being the same thing, only from a different Old God. This would mean that every time you drink Kasha Cola, you actually drink the blood of an Old God, and the thing that I like most about this is the rivalry between goblins and gnomes. These two races never get along with each other, and with this theory you actually have their origin at completely different sides, and like I said, it's unknown where the goblins come from. I just love this theory. The origin of the Tauren is unknown, although Bram Bronzebeard speculates that the origin might be connected to some sort of bull ancient, some bull demigod. We do know that Tauren will evolve depending on their living environment, as we've seen with the Tonka in Northrend and the Yangol in Pandaria. The origin of the humans is connected to the Vrykul, Titan creations who were hit by the curse of flesh placed upon them by the old gods. You can see a theme with a couple of these races. A lot of them are connected to the Titans and then hit by the curse of flesh. Now in the case of the Vrykul, King Yimmeron ordered the Vrykul to dispose of their weak and malformed offspring, but some of the parents, they could not bear to kill their own children. These children were eventually taken by the Titan Keeper Tyr away from Northrend, where they will be able to live out their lives, build up their societies, and become the humans as we know them today. The playable Worgen come from Gilneas and are partly human, which connects the origin to the other humans, so Vrykul hit by the curse of flesh. The Worgen form comes from the Worgen curse, and the backstory behind this is that Night Elf druids, they tried to embrace the feral powers of the wolf ancient Goldrin. These so-called druids of the Pact, they tried to gain control over these powers, but they failed, to which Malfurion locked them away within the Emerald Dream. They were then later summoned back to Azeroth by Archmage Arugal to fight against the Scourge, which caused the Worgen curse to spread through Gilneas. Undead Forsaken used to be those fallen to the Plague, Arthas and the Scourge, but they were able to liberate themselves from Arthas' control and found a new home under the leadership of Sylvanas Windrunner. These days, Sylvanas has her Banshees to create more Forsaken, but the playable ones used to be humans, so the origin lies with the Vrykul and the Curse of Flesh. And there you go, ladies and gentlemen, those are the evolutions of the playable races. Next question. Hey Noble, can you give any information on the Black Empire? The Black Empire is something that Chris Metzen mentioned during the Mr. Pandaria launch, and I'll link that VOD in the description if you want to check it out. This video was published in 2012, so 4 years ago, and in that time, when they made the announcement, they mentioned the Black Empire as part of a book of Cain, like a history book for Warcraft. They had many discussions about the ancient history of Warcraft, mainly the era of Titans and Old Gods, before the Old Gods were imprisoned and the elements sent to the elemental plane. This empire, ruled by the Old Gods, is called the Black Empire, the first primordial civilization on Azeroth, with a number of races that comprise the ancient civilization. You had like the Faceless ones, you had the Akir that would eventually evolve into the Mantid, and the Rubians, and the Karaji. Back then, they didn't know what form this book would take, but I think it's safe to say that what they were talking about back then is going to be the Warcraft Chronicles set to release this year. I really hope that the Warcraft Chronicles is going to give more information about the early days of Warcraft history. So more about the Black Empire, more about Titan, shaping the world of Azeroth, the elemental plane, all that good stuff. But we'll have to wait for the Chronicles to release. On top of that, Legion also mentions the Black Empire. I don't want to go into spoilers in this video, but it's going to be part of what's coming up. There is going to be more information. Next question from Lightning Shadow. Hey dear Noble, what happened with the Dreadlords from Warcraft 3 that got thrown out from Arthas' home? I know that he'd take care of one, maybe two, but I mean, have they lost purpose to serve? Why don't they just go back from the Twisted Nether to Azeroth? The Dreadlords, also known as the Nathrezim, they have not lost their purpose, and in most cases, they still serve the Burning Legion and their Lord Sargeras. You are absolutely right, they cannot be killed in Azeroth, they can only truly be killed within the Twisted Nether, so the many Dreadlords that we've seen over the years, they've already come back, or they could make a return in the future. Now I thought it'd be a good idea to take this question and have a little look at the Dreadlords that we've seen in the past and what exactly they've done for the storyline. We've seen the following. Khafrenatyr, a Dreadlord which caused trouble around Dalaran, resulting in the formation of the Council of Tirisfal and the first Guardian Elodie. He later returned as a curse upon Valera Sanguinar, trying to possess the latest Guardian Medan until Metal Winterstorm offered himself in his place. Khafrenatyr agreed and entered Metal's body, who to this day is still trying to keep control over the Dreadlord, and he's trying to find a way to banish him forever. Tychondrius, Lord of the Nathrezim, he was taken out by Illidan after Illidan absorbed the Skull of Gul'dan during Warcraft 3. Melganis played a key part in bringing Arthas to the dark side, but he did encounter Ner'zhul betraying him, and Arthas was actually allowed to strike him down with Frostmourne. He did make a return during Wrath of the Lich King, where he infiltrated the Scarlet Onslaught, but Adventurers found out about him and they confronted him. Even though in that confrontation he told us that we will never be able to take on the Lich King without his forces, he never showed up afterwards. Neferon fought with the Legion at the Battle of Mount Hyjal. He was defeated and made a return in Warlords of Draenor together with Archimonde, where he was defeated again. Mephistroth showed up during the Warcraft 3 cutscene. He was the Blue Dreadlord, but he remained within the Twisted Nether and hasn't done much yet. Balnazar was taken out by his own brother Varimafras in order of Sylvanas, but his death was staged. He killed Saidan Dafrohan, corrupted the organization, forming it into the Scarlet Crusade. He then manipulated events which brought the corrupted Ashbringer and Alexandros Mograine, later his son Darius Mograine, into the Scourge army. We took him out within Stratholme, but he returned during the Cataclysm, to which we took him out again. Varimafras lost the battle against Banshee Queen Sylvanas and the forces during Warcraft 3, and he then begged for his life. Sylvanas allowed the Dreadlord to join her ranks if he proved his loyalty, including striking down his own brother Balnazar. Varimafras was never truly loyal to Sylvanas though. He plotted against her until Wrath the Lich King, where he, together with Grand Apothecary Putris, they staged a coup and they took control of the Undercity. Within the city, Varimafras tried to summon his Lord Sargeras into the world, but adventurers went in and they stopped him. Defarok was part of the Dreadlord group in Warcraft 3, and he managed to gain control of the human general Garithos. Sylvanas and Varimafras were able to snap Garithos out of it and tear Defarok to bloody shreds. Dalvangyr, unaware that Archimonde was defeated, Dalvangyr kept on leading their forces in Lordaeron. Kilfa Sunstrider was put on a suicide mission by Garithos to defend Dalaran at all costs. Now this mission seemed impossible, but with the help of Lady Vashina Naga, she and Kilfas were able to destroy Dalvangyr's bases and the Dreadlord himself. Tainvar the Sleeper, a Dreadlord part of the Warcraft 3 bonus campaign, in which Rexxar, Chen, Rokan and Cairn Bloodhoof, they stepped through a portal into the Outland Arena. There they battled with Tainvar in order to gain access to his library of intelligence tomes. Lord Helnurath, member of the Dreadlords that ruled over the world of Zoroth, home to the infernal Dreadsteeds. He was summoned and killed in Dire Maul for the Warlock Epic Mount quest to obtain a Dreadsteed of their own. Solanor the Slayer, part of the Epic Hunter questline back during Classic, he disguised himself as a gnome called Nelson the Nice, wandering the lands of Silithus. Hunters confronted the Dreadlord and took him out. Razalik the Defiler served as Lord Kazak's most fearsome lieutenant and was instructed to secure the blasted lands, which he actually managed to do. During Classic, we went through a very long quest chain to take him out, only to see him return during the Cataclysm, where together with the demon hunter Lorimus, we took him out again, to which Lorimus tells us to leave him there while he'll wrestle with Raklik in the next world. The next world probably being the Twisted Nether. Lofros, a Dreadlord that had allied himself with Illidan in Outland, taken out by adventurers. Vagath, a Dreadlord that had allied himself with Illidan Stormrage and was one of Maiev Shadowsong's jailers. He was eventually taken out by Akama as the Ashtong Deathsworn attacked the Black Temple. Pentaferon, a leader of a group of scavengers in search of equipment within Netherstorm, he was taken out by adventurers as they searched for a piece of an Atamal crystal. Kulutas, found within the ruins of Farallon in Netherstorm, he has obtained one of the shards of the Atamal crystal and he now believes himself to be above the Burning Legion. He killed the demonic forces within Farallon, replacing them with his own minions, and this action pissed off the Eredar Sokrafar. But it was the adventurers that took down Kulutas, retrieved a piece of the crystal, and they returned it to Adal in Shafrath. Satrovar the Corruptor. He was able to corrupt the Blue Dragon Caligos, as Caligos was searching for Envina near the Sunwell, making it the first encounter of the Sunwell Plateau. We took him out, and we liberated Kalik from the Dreadlord's corruption. Diatrus the Seeker and Gorgonon were two Dreadlords stationed in Ashenvale Forest, but they were taken out by adventurers. Gorgonon was told by Diaphorus to stop using so much blood ink in his love letters to Diaphorus Lashers. Lord Banehollow, leader of the Jadenar in Felwood, the location of the Shadow Council on Azeroth. He is also taken out by adventurers. Xanatos the Defiler, a Dreadlord encountered on alternate Draenor. He held one of the pieces of the heart of Auchindoun, an item required to empower the defenses of Auchindoun itself. He was slain by adventurers who retrieved the item. And finally, there's Azagrim, a Dreadlord mentioned in the common archaeology artifact made from orc archaeology fragments. 29 candles were used to summon the Dreadlord Azagrim. 28 orcs were slain by Azagrim before Chieftain Hargal finally dispatched him. As you can see, a theme with all these Dreadlords is that they are taken out by adventurers time and time again. Their plans usually don't go as planned. And like I said, they cannot be killed on Azeroth, they can only be killed within the Twisted Nether. And with the expansion Legion coming up, you can be sure that we'll see many familiar faces. And with that final question, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end this Q&A. As always, thank you all so very much for sending in your questions. If you have more, by all means, leave them in a comment down below and I might use them in the next video. I also have a list with questions that I've answered in the past. A link to that can be found in the description. Thank you very much for watching, everyone. Subscribe if you like my videos, leave a like if you enjoyed this one, and until next time guys, see ya!